Welcome to the Her Story Circle podcast, the podcast that brings you the extraordinary tales of everyday women who are changing the world. I'm your host, Gertrude Mache, and I'd like to acknowledge traditional custodians of the land on which we meet today. I also like to pay my respects to elders, past, present, and emerging. Every week, we dive into the lives, challenges, and triumphs of women from all four corners of the globe. We're here to inspire, enlighten, and connect, sharing stories that uplift and empower. So grab a cup of coffee, settle in, and join us as we explore the incredible journeys of women shaping our future. This is Her Story, where every woman's voice matters. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Her Story Circle. This is Gertrude Mache here in beautiful Melbourne, Australia. And today I am graced with the presence of yet another fascinating woman. Welcome, welcome, welcome to our tribe. Please tell everybody your full name, where you're based, and share your story with us today.
Hi, thank you for having me. My name is Elana Silber, and I'm coming to you from the United States, from the state of New Jersey. And this is my story. She's 28 years old. She's standing in her bedroom, getting changed into a bathing suit, when she notices something. A small sliver of a shadow on her left breast. It's faint, easy to dismiss. Something most people would probably ignore, but something just doesn't feel right. So she makes a call. Not her first call. She's had scares before, moments that turned out to be nothing. But this time, it isn't. This time, one appointment turns into two. Two turns into tests. Tests turn into waiting. And then her doctor walks in, sits down, and says the words that split her life in two. You have breast cancer. And in that moment, everything goes quiet. Not peaceful quiet, but the kind where your thoughts are racing so fast, you can't catch a single one. Fear, confusion, isolation. And I want you to stay with her for a moment, because she's not someone else. She's you. She's your daughter, your sister, your friend. She was 28 years old. She had done everything right. And now she was facing decisions most people don't have to think about. Fertility, genetics, surgery, survival. But what stayed with her most wasn't just the diagnosis. It was what came after. Because once the doctor left the room, she was all alone. Alone with questions, alone with fear, alone with decisions that couldn't wait. She started searching for someone, anyone, who understood what she was going through. And eventually, she found one other woman who had been through it. And in that moment, they looked at each other and said, we can't be the only two. And that question, where is everyone else, became the beginning of something. Our medical systems are exceptional at treating disease. But we need more. We need a system that is designed to carry people through uncertainty. The appointments end, the doctor leaves, and you are left sitting there, trying to make decisions that will shape your life forever. Who do you call first? What do you do about your future, your family, your body? How do you even begin to process what just happened? And in those moments, information is not enough. What you need is someone who understands the weight of it. Because the difference between surviving and suffering is connection. Support is not a luxury in healthcare. It is survival. And when that kind of connection exists, everything changes. You ask better questions. You make informed decisions. You feel less alone in the most isolating moment of your life. You move from panic to clarity, from fear to strength. And over time, that one statement, we can't be the only two, has quietly reached tens of thousands of women who were once sitting in that same silence. Through conversations, through shared experience, through one woman saying to another, I've been where you are, and you're going to get through this. And this is where everything shifts, from isolation to connection, from fear to empowerment, from reacting to preparing. Because when support is there early, when connection is built into the experience, you don't just survive, you thrive. So imagine this. Imagine if every woman knew her risk. Imagine if the moment she heard those words, she didn't have to search, scroll, or sit in fear trying to figure out what to do next. Imagine if support wasn't something you found later, but something that was already there from the very beginning. Because the truth is, we don't always rise to the moment of crisis. We fall back on what we already know. That's why this matters now, not later. Because the woman in the story, she's not hypothetical, she's real. And there will be another one tomorrow and another the day after that. So the question isn't, will you need this? The question is, when you need this, will you know where to turn? There is an answer to that question. There is a place built exactly for that moment, after the diagnosis, before the ground feels steady again. It's called Sharsheret. And now that you've heard this, you are a part of that chain, that connection. So say the name, know it, understand it, and be sure to share it widely before you or anyone you love needs it.
Wow, what an incredible story and a journey you've been on, Elana.
Well,
I
thank you.
don't, I can't even begin to imagine. So, what was the emotional reality behind the diagnosis that people don't see?
So I also want to just be clear that this woman in the story is the founder of this organization that I'm representing today and is not my own personal story, but I go back this in time and when this was happening to this woman, and her name was Rochelle. But I think that what was said in the story is that that point of diagnosis, when the doctor steps out, where do you turn and what do you do? You're completely lost, knowing that you have someone there who can be your quarterback, who understands, is life changing and can actually change the outcome in the long run.
Yeah, just having that support and knowing you're not alone makes a big difference. So, why do you believe so many women still feel alone during their health journey?
So I think there are a couple of elements. The first one is when you first get a diagnosis, you're in complete shock. You don't even hear what's being said to you. So it's very hard to even process what just happened. So if you're not prepared, the language is different. They're saying things you don't know. Your mind immediately goes to will I live or will I die? There's a lot of steps that you need to take between now and then. And so I think that people think this is only happening to them because
Yeah.
in that moment, this is what's happening to you. And then your mind starts to unravel and you start to think about your friends and your family and their lives are going on as normal, right? They're not sitting in this room that day. They're not going to have to go make appointments. They're going on with their regular schedule. So in that moment, you are alone and you don't understand it. So you're not out there telling everyone because they'll ask you questions you don't know the answers to because you don't even know yourself. So it's very isolating.
That's challenging. So, what does the word Sharsheret mean?
So Sharsheret is the Hebrew word for chain, and it represents the connections that this organization can make to women with other women and with
Yeah.
resources and with medical information and with coping mechanisms and guidance to really connect you to what you need when you need it along the cancer journey. That's from time of diagnosis through treatment and even beyond.
So, what is something you wish every woman understood about her health risks?
So every woman is at risk for breast cancer. We know that's the biggest risk factor.
Hmm.
And so every woman by the age of 40 should, well, this is the United States guidelines, should be getting an annual mammogram. But
Yes.
we don't want women to wait till 40 to start thinking about their breasts. 1 in 8 women will be diagnosed with breast cancer in their lifetime. So we really need to be vigilant. And what we're recommending is that even at the age of 25, start going for a risk assessment. And I always tell women, know your family history. We hear a lot of information in the media about genetic mutations and this population and that population, and that's really important. But what you can't find in textbooks is your family history. And having these complicated conversations with family is critical because the tests don't tell it all. Family history plays a critical role in cancer. Cancer is running in families sometimes where there's no genetic mutation. So it's really important know your family history and make sure you go for your screening. Start at age 25 for a risk assessment to just know your risk because everything is very personalized. Medicine is personalized, and we can do things today to prevent cancer in the future.
That is so true. So much can be done to preempt these things. So, where do you see the biggest gap in the current healthcare system for women?
So I think information is a big one, right? There's so much, we're very fortunate. Breast cancer is very much studied and researched. And there's new things coming along the way, and medical professionals know it, but they really need to get it to the community. And they rely on breast cancer advocates like Sharsheret, like other organizations, to get the word out to women in the community. So we like to say we are wherever you are. And we take opportunities to educate women, whether they're going to the gym, whether they're at the workplace, whether in a local community center, wherever we have an opportunity to share, the statistics and the screening options and where to turn to if they're even worried about cancer. We, again, like I said, we don't necessarily have to wait for cancer to hit. We can be proactive today. It doesn't mean you're going to be able to prevent a cancer diagnosis, but you can catch it in its earliest stages when it can be cured.
That is so true. So, how has peer support transformed the lives of the women that you serve?
So I have to tell you, peer support with the right peer supporter can make a difference. This experience that we talked about in Sharsheret's story was the
Mhm.
foundation on which everything else was built. Because women, there is nothing more inspiring than speaking to someone who's been where you are and is now on the other side. And there's always, we say, like these nuggets, right? You can read a textbook, but it's for everyone. But when you have an intimate relationship with a peer supporter and you're matched, because we have a very specific matching system, we don't just set two women up because they both have cancer, but maybe one woman, her biggest concern is, will I lose my hair? That is the number one concern after women question, will I live or will I die? The next question is, will I lose my hair and how do I manage that? And so speaking to other women who can understand, how did you talk to your children? How about, in front of your partner or your spouse? How did you manage that? How did you cover your hair? What did you do? And Sharsheret provides these kits and resources on how to manage all these, we call them, sounds a little clinical, like psychosocial issues, intimacy
Right.
with your partner, raising children, going to work, dating. These are all conversations that you can have with peer supporters who give you their tips and trips, and you can get through it, and they develop relationships. And if one peer supporter didn't have your exact experience, you could speak to two or three. And there's so much knowledge that these women are holding on to. And we see that as soon as women start to feel a little, even sometimes in the throes of chemotherapy, they want to give back. And there's part of the healing is helping others, and it's very cathartic. So we're seeing benefits of peer support, both from the peer supporter and from the
Yeah.
one who's gotten support.
That's just amazing. Absolutely incredible. Now, can you share a story of one woman whose life was changed through your work?
I could probably tell you 1,000 stories. But I mean, the first story is more of a general story. Every time we have an event, like I said, we'll go into a community center, we'll have a fundraiser, whatever it is,
Yeah.
and we always put in some medical information. We'll always put in a video about, someone, men get breast cancer too, so there'll be something about male breast cancer. After every event, I inevitably get a call from someone who says, Sharsheret saved my life because I wasn't going to go to the doctor. I didn't realize that if my father's family had breast cancer or ovarian cancer, that would affect me. I thought only if my mother did. Um, so, I mean, I do remember that there was a woman who went to dinner with all these breast cancer survivors and they were talking. And one of them said, Elana Silber saved my life. And I worked with this woman and she said, "Oh, you know Elana Silber?" And she said, "No, I've never met Elana Silber." But she was on a podcast like this. I think it was on Instagram. It could have been an Insta Live. And this was at the year after the COVID, after the pandemic. And she said
Okay.
she was sitting on the call and we were talking about all the issues of, and people get breast cancer and ovarian cancer and all the risks. And then she said, Alana said one thing. She said at the end, she said, "If you don't remember anything I said today, remember to make your appointment." So many women have pushed off their appointments because of the pandemic, right? We were told
Yeah.
to go out of the house, and then there were backups, and then we saw that women pushed their mammograms off. They didn't go annually; they were going every 3 years because it was 2020, and then 2021, and 2022, and maybe they were a little late. And women are busy, right? We are,
Yeah.
running companies and raising families and dating and everything out there. So she said after she got off this podcast, she picked up the phone, she called the radiologist, she made her mammogram, and she was
Okay.
diagnosed with early stage breast cancer. And she
Oh, wow.
I'm behind. It's behind me now. Sharsheret helped me along the way, but I never would have made the appointment that day. I could have waited 6 months, and you know what? Who knows what the results would be? So that comes to mind, especially as I'm doing a podcast. I'm like, this is really,
Yes.
but there are thousands of stories. I mean, especially with the advancements in technology. Sharsheret's been sharing information about this. I don't know if you've heard about family planning now, where a family that's been plagued with a genetic mutation for generations now could have the opportunity to cut the gene off from this family by doing a medical procedure called pre-implantation genetic testing, where through
Oh,
in
wow.
vitro fertilization, you can screen the embryos for a genetic mutation and only implant those that do not have the genetic mutation. So when that baby is born, that baby has the same risk for cancer as anyone in the general population and are not at increased genetic risk because you have now removed the gene from this family lineage and the trajectory of cancer has been changed forever.
Wow. So, what role does mental health play in physical healing, do you think?
So I think there are two sides of the coin, and we're seeing it. And back to the pandemic, just because I think it was the first time the world really recognized the value of mental health, and we know that when you have when you pay attention to mental health, it's a real thing. It helps with your physical outcome. So it's critical to get mental health support to get you to the other side. Stress increasing risk for illness is not a fallacy. It has definitely been shown to be important. And a positive attitude and appropriate support for your mental health is critical for you to take full control of your physical health.
Yeah. What challenges have you faced in growing the organization from the grassroots level?
So I think that's it. There's still some elements that we are still grassroots. Sharsheret was founded in 2001, and now we're in 2026. It's 25 years
Okay.
later. And the challenge is to keep your finger on the pulse because what's available now was not necessarily available 25 years ago. For us, the
Right.
challenge is ensuring that every woman understands her risk for cancer, the measures she can take today to protect her future, and how Sharsheret can help. Because Sharsheret is helping all women and all men of all backgrounds facing breast cancer and ovarian cancer, or either with an increased risk or because they are diagnosed with cancer. I think
Mm.
people need to know the statistics, and they need to know if they carry a mutation. If somebody, and this information, while it's second knowledge to me, getting that into the hands and the minds of the community is very challenging. People don't want to hear about cancer. That's not a fun night out. So we have to
No.
find creative ways, and knowledge is power. And people are afraid sometimes to have that knowledge because they don't want to see the outcomes. And we want to try to explain that that knowledge means you can do something about it and
Yeah.
don't. So I think that growing an organization is hard. It's also a business, and there's fundraising and awareness and partnering. You can't do this alone. It's really critical that we partner with the medical community, and having
Yeah.
that organization is important.
Now, how did COVID shift the conversation around mental health and support?
So I think before COVID, when we tried to explain what Sharsheret does, like people would ask you, "Oh, do you cure cancer?" No, we don't cure cancer, but we can help you get a cure for cancer. We can put your head in a position where you can make better decisions, where you can improve your quality of life, which plays an important role in healing. And I think that the general community saw the isolation of COVID at the
Yeah.
time as really detrimental to health. Those that were alone, and we see it with studies sometimes in the elderly population, that they
Yeah.
fare much better with socialization. So this part of being part of
Yes.
the community is building strength and
Mm.
empowering women to take control of a situation that feels very much out of control. And it's a
No.
professional, we have professional mental health counselors, so they can provide you with coping mechanisms and how to talk to family members. And I think that and the medical community is now referring patients to organizations like Sharsheret to complement the clinical work that they're doing because they recognize the value of mental health.
Wow. Now, if every woman listening today could take one action, one thing, what would that be, do you think?
Do I really have to make it one thing, just one thing? Um,
Okay,
you know,
give us a few things.
I think again, I would say know your family history, make sure you understand the screenings, and consider genetic testing if your family is seen to have a lot of a lot of cancer, or if you're part of populations that are known to have an increased hereditary risk for cancer. I mean, that's what I think of most. And then call Sharsheret, because really, we are wherever you are, and we can help you understand and get you to the next level. You can call Sharsheret once, you can call Sharsheret 100 times. Everything is free, everything is confidential, everything is easily accessible, even from all four corners of the world, the way you say it. You can find,
Yeah.
and we're here. We have social workers and genetic counselors on staff. You don't need insurance. You don't need to pay anything. You don't even have to use your real name. But you could reach us online. You could reach us on the telephone. You could reach us on social media. You can come to, we try to make it easy.
Yeah, they say the world is flat now because of the internet. You can reach anyone anywhere in the world as
Yeah,
long as
until
you have
this
an
works
internet
out.
connection. So, what is your message to a woman who is silently struggling right now?
So we don't judge. If you want to be silent, we don't think you have to be the picture of anything and the face of anything. But know that you can remain silent and quiet and private and still feel connected to Sharsheret and a community of women who've been where you have been. And
Yeah.
Sharsheret could be that person to hold your hand and to guide you. You can choose to stay. We don't look to change anyone. And we're respectful to everyone's perspective and cultural background and all the challenges that come with that. And we will tailor our support to you. When you reach out to Sharsheret, you are the only person in the room, and we doesn't have to be noisy. And I think when you talk about silence and we talk about the internet, I would caution women to not go to the internet. There's tremendously helpful things on it, but there's a lot and it's very noisy. Sharsheret can actually help you navigate even the internet and see which resources are appropriate for you and which ones are reliable. Because there's a lot of things out there that are not going to be helpful or they're going to be scary.
Yeah, it's true. There's just too much information online now. If you're not careful, you start consuming information that's going to affect your mental health and not help.
Right. I always say that when a woman's diagnosed and she's thinking, you know, the worst. And I say, like, when you're diagnosed, we become authors of fiction. Stick to the facts. This is what they told you. It doesn't cost anymore to think the worst. Let's just wait. Let's stick to the facts because very often it's not the worst. And when you go online and you look at the worst case scenarios, so that's why that is really not good for your mental health. But we want to leverage technology when it can be good because maybe we can find you the perfect match of someone who's living in Australia and someone's living in New Jersey. We can do that for you, but maybe you don't have to read what someone who you don't know is saying that's not relevant to you.
That's so true. So, how can we shift from a culture of reacting to illness to a culture of proactive, empowered health?
So the best way to be proactive is to recognize that we are all at risk, and especially in a disease like breast cancer. I mean, I don't think I can go anywhere or meet anyone who doesn't say yes, us, my mother, my sister, my grandmother, my cousin, my best friend, my coworker. So I think
Yeah,
the first thing women have to do is really understand their risk and talk to their doctors. And that's what you can do today and know your family history and call me and we can put it all together and guide you.
yeah, no, that's so good. So, what does support actually look like in those darkest moments? And why do so many women not receive support?
So there is still stigma associated with cancer. I mean, we've done a
Yeah,
lot to change the narrative. I mean, when I was younger or even before my time, it was the C word. So we are still saying it more and more, but I do still think there is a stigma attached to it. And nobody wants to be looked at as a sick person or that. So I think that is definitely one of the challenges. The second thing is if you don't know someone close to you who's gone through exactly what you've gone through and you don't know about the resources in your community,
yeah,
you're just stuck and because you haven't known that. And I think that that's really important. And that's why there's still so many people. And I think it's also the lack of understanding. People don't understand what's going on. And that's also embarrassing, overwhelming. And people don't want to, and I know with women, this is a bigger problem. Maybe I'm globalizing it. I don't know if it's specifically a women's challenge. They don't want to be the takers. All our lives, we want to help others. I want to give. But I'm never the taker. I don't want to get help. I don't want to ask. But we tell them, if you've been giving all these years, someone is taking it. Now it's your
yeah.
turn. Okay. It's okay to accept.
Leave.
And then, but the very beginning, when you're first diagnosed, honestly, it's like being thrown into a different language. And it is because they'll say medications you never heard of or treatments you never thought about. Or your doctor
Yeah,
leaves you with two options. Option A and option B. And then you say to the doctor, well, which one is better? Well, they're both good options, whatever you prefer. Whatever I prefer, I'm like, I'm stuck. I'm like a deer in headlights. Like, I don't know. So
yeah,
then you call Sharsheret and you speak to a woman who chose option A, or you speak to a woman who chose option B, or you work it out with your social worker, or you speak to the genetic counselor and say, I have, this is my family history, this is my genetic mutation, and you understand it. But in that moment, it's hard to make any decisions.
yeah. Challenging. Now, is there anything else I should have asked you and I didn't?
I think the only thing is, what are the statistics, which we went over a little bit. There are genetic mutations, like people heard of the BRCA mutations, but there are a lot of other mutations associated with breast cancer and ovarian cancer, like CHEK2, PALB2, ATM. and other things. So knowing that these genetic mutations are around, knowing that it's really important to understand both sides of your family history, both on the father's side and the mother's side. It's not enough to just know. And also, there are other cancers that run in families that might increase your risk for breast cancer. So let's say you look at your family history and you say, no one's had breast cancer, no ovarian cancer, but then you find out that your grandfather had prostate cancer and your uncle had pancreatic cancer, and then maybe somebody had breast cancer. So we know, like with a genetic mutation like BRCA, which stands for breast cancer, it increases the risk for breast cancer and ovarian cancer, but also pancreatic and prostate cancer. So you have to really would delve into your family history, know about all the cancers and all the genders, and put that all together. Because when you carry a mutation, so for example, if you're a woman who carries a BRCA mutation, your risk for breast cancer goes from 12% to over 85%. Those are real risks. And then there are things you can do today to protect your future. But I really think the most important thing is, the big thing is like, can you reach out to Sharsheret? And the answer is always yes. The answer is yes. You can reach out to us and we will get you the information you need when you need it. And you will get it right away. No more waiting online. No filling out more forms. We're going to make this easy for you. We're going to make it as beautiful as we can, because we know what it's like to be a woman diagnosed with breast cancer.
Yeah. That's amazing. Thank you so much for coming online and sharing this amazing story with our community today. So I have your website at the bottom of the screen, just in case there's anybody out there who's looking for help, who's needing support. And thank you to everybody who tuned in as well. Please tag a friend. If you know somebody who's going through a struggle, is needing support, share this video on your social media as well so we can reach more women. Thank you so much for the interview.
Thank you, and thank you for sharing this life-saving information.
Absolute pleasure. Bye for now, everybody. Thank you for tuning into the Her Story Circle podcast. I hope today's story has inspired you to believe in the power of our stories and the difference you can make in the world when you use your voice. I'm Gertrude Mache, and it's been an honor to share this space with you, where voices from all walks of life come together to weave a rich tapestry of diverse perspectives. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review our podcast to help us share these stories with more listeners. Follow us on social media by looking for the Her Story Circle podcast for more updates. And join us tomorrow for another episode filled with courage, resilience, and empowerment. Remember, your story matters, and together we're building a stronger, more inclusive world. Until next time, keep making her story. Thank